Welcome, world, to the first episode of Realize This. Mike, they needed us. We had to come out of retirement. We was here during the pandemic helping cats get their minds right. We're in tough times again, you know. Things ain't going the way they need to. So we're going to put on these capes. We're going to bring this great content to folks, make sure that they're happy, enjoying life, but take away some tips that can help them do amazing things. Now, here's the reality. The world is in a really weird place where opinions are not valued anymore. People can't say the things they want to say. Man, this is a forum where we're going to value all opinions as long as you can bring facts to the table, man. We ain't looking for fake news. We ain't supported by doctored videos. No, we want to hear some real supporting facts. I know that's hard to understand. Trust me, as we go through all these things, we'll talk through them. So as you'll see, as we reference things, we're going to reference things like reports, statistics, surveys, probably not reference like CNN or Fox News or anything like that. Maybe as a point of reference for the story, but not necessarily for truth, right? So our goal here today is to talk a little bit about success in spite of, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about how can you be successful in spite of anything that's going on in your life. There's a lot of stuff that today for most folks probably stop them from being successful. And so we're going to give some tips from our lives. Those of you that don't know our background, check our YouTube here. We'll probably give you some more as we go along about who we are and what we've done in life, but check our YouTube. All of our handles are the same. Realize Now GL Growth and Learning Company. So just check us out on Insta, TikTok, all that stuff. You guys will see more content coming. So check us out there. So Mike, tell me, when you hear, man, I need to be successful in spite of, what comes to your mind?
First thing that comes to mind are sort of people, I don't want to keep sounding so therapy-ish, but people being in tune with sort of what's going on for them, right?
It's okay to be a little therapy-ish, you know what I'm saying? Like the people were here for it, you know what I'm saying? They're here for it.
Yeah. I think for me, you know, what gets in the way for people is sort of letting life get a hold of them in ways that's not healthy, right? That's unproductive, that is bringing their energy down, you know, and not sort of having the self-awareness around this is what's happening to me right now and how do I want to live authentically. So, but you got to know how to do that, right? You need to know how to live authentically. You need to be able to recognize when something's going on, when you're having a bad mood or something at work is pissing you off, right? Like, so that's what goes on for me when you, stop.
Recognition for me seems to be the hardest thing, I think, for most people as they're going through stuff, right? I mean, I don't know if you agree with that, but like what I see from people who are struggling, right? And let's put this on myself, right? When I'm struggling, my fog has covered me, man. Like I can't see past, and everything that justifies how I'm feeling or what I'm going through is justified in my mind, right? Like, and no matter what someone tells me, I'm like, but. And I feel like you gotta get rid of the buts to really understand, like, okay, what are the steps I need to take to get myself out of whatever I'm feeling or going through at the specific time?
And it requires a high level of self-awareness.
Yeah. Sometimes it requires mentors or people you trust
Yep.
that can kind of, I know for you and I, every once in a while we call each other and I'm like, man, am I seeing this the wrong way? Because I feel like I am, but I might be on some BS. So sometimes we got to be like, yeah, man, you're a little BS right now, right? Like you gotta look at it a different way.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, as we were kind of researching this topic and going through a bunch of different things, one of the things that really stuck out to me was kind of what I believe is the first step if you're trying to really be great after awareness, right? Is, do you have the skills developed to do whatever the thing is you're trying to do? If I'm trying to go to the NBA, but I can't shoot, and I'm 5'11", I don't know, I'm gonna say 6 feet, bro. You know, I'm gonna give myself an extra inch, but I'm, 5'11" ish, 6 feet, right? And
you have to be special to be 5'10", 5'11".
Right. Yeah, you gotta have a special set of
Shooting,
skills, right?
shooting ain't the issue.
Yeah, give yourself options, right? Because once you give yourself options, you give yourself confidence. Once you give yourself confidence, you can create values for others, right? And so most folks will walk into a situation and they will skip the part of developing their skill. They will sit there and go, okay, I'm good enough, so I deserve this. And especially in a generation today, I know, man, I sound like an old man, get off your lawn, but I feel like today, when I talk to some young kids, I have some in my house. I have them from various ages, 14 to almost 30, living in my home. I think the thing that I wish I could impart in this generation a little bit more is, if you don't develop the skills, then you're not going to be valuable. Well, first off, it's not going to give you the confidence, right? So you're not going to have the confidence, and then how you're not going to have value to the people that you do. So when you hear that, how to talk to me about what that sounds like to you, or do you disagree with what I'm talking about?
Well, I'm curious about how you do that at work.
Ooh, okay. So I think one of the things that I always try to do with any team that I've ever been a part of, and had the pleasure of having responsibility of employees kind of work underneath me, is I want to make sure that they're 100% understand the task at hand before I start holding them accountable for executing that task at the highest level. Right.
So
And so
clarity.
and I'm a big fan of like onboarding, training, and developing. And we've drawn a triangle before, right? That talked about onboarding, training, developing, coaching, right? And if you're doing all of those things like in the right order, you find yourself then allowing your teams to maximize who they are as a person, right? And so
Mm,
before I can hold you accountable, I have to make sure that I've done my part as a leader to train and develop your skills. And once those skills are developed, I try to watch my team do those skills. Now, one of my flaws is that I'm the type of person who likes to just do it myself, right? So, but in developing the skills in others, you have to allow them to fail. You have to allow them to see it. And then you have to be there to coach them through
hmm
all of those situations, right? And so I think the experience that you and I had going through the coaching certification that we did really helped me be a better leader, because it gave me the skills and tools to maximize what I was already doing, but in a more systematic way, right? And using all of those.
yeah, for sure. So part of also what you're talking about is there's also a level of responsibility and initiation that whoever it is that you're coaching has to sort of do their own sort of work on the side. Like you're not pouring into them 100% of the time, right? So like how do you manage that, right? Like how do you manage being able to identify someone is like, look, I'm giving you 60%. My expectation is I'm giving you clarity, I'm giving you coaching. 40% has to come from you in terms of what you're putting into it. This is also true for your children, right? And in terms of what you're putting into it. Now, what is my expectation there, right? Because part of it is, again, they need to lean into it and do stuff outside and practice outside of what you got going on or what you're trying to instruct them to do, right? Like, how do you manage supporting people with that?
Yeah, man, it's funny that you say that. So, like in doing research for what we were talking about today, right? I was reading an article. I shared it with you. The World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. Ooh, that was a long title, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we'll have it in the links for you guys to check it out. They did a report in 2023, and they said 44% of workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. So, what you're talking about is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pour 60% of you, but you talked about what is the 40% you're pouring into yourself, right? And that 40% is your self development, right? So making continuous skill development essential is an important key point to being employable over the next 50 years of your life, right? God, that sounds like a long time to be working, but all right, 25 years and you become a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? For all you youngsters out there who ain't trying to work for 50 years, I feel you, right? And then Harvard Business Review was talking about employees who proactively develop skills are more engaged and less likely to burn out. And so if you're like always getting better at what you're doing, and so as skill growth fosters a sense of control and progress, right? So that kind of finishing off that quote, but if you're constantly learning, then you're always like engaged. And so if you're always engaged, you aren't feeling stagnant in your job, right?
Which also means for you as a leader, you got to be able to recognize that that's what that person is doing. And like, how do you make it then get to a point to where they aren't getting bored?
Yeah.
Right. You're right. Because they've mastered sort of their classification, right? What's going on. And then it's like, all right, cool. So now how do you start to empower and succession plan around that? Right.
Yep.
But
Yeah. And so how I always want to do a better job at what I do, right? Like I always want to be a better person. I always want to grow. I think that there's an opportunity for me to help my team develop themselves on their own. Man, one of the things at the place where I'm currently working today that I think is fantastic is we have a learning center set up for our teams that they can go in there and they can self-learn on different topics, right?
mhm,
So working for an employer that does that and has those skills and has those
resources.
resources, I think is fantastic, right? Because it's a good place for employees to start. They may not know where to go. I would always encourage, and I need to do a better job where I'm at today, but I would always pick a book that I was like, hey guys, here's a book that I read. Team, here's a book that I think would be really beneficial to you. And even at some places, we've actually dissected that book together, right? We've gone chapter by chapter once a month, and like we really dissected what came out of it. One of the books we did that with was Good to Great, one of my favorite books, but we really dissected that book together and really dug into, okay, here's how we, here's some of the great things about this book. Here's how we can apply it to what we do every day. So I think those are some encouragement ways. What do you do with your team? I know you got a pretty large team that reports up to you throughout different places. They're in different places. How do you find ways to help them be better?
So we have similar resources, right? Like we utilize LinkedIn Learning platform, which is amazing. We also have a ton of resources. We have like a learning institute that is like, I work for local government, so it's within our county, right? And so based on what's going on there, I then take things that I see going on with the team and I implement sort of micro learnings, right? One of the things that's going on right now is because I have there's going to be a new person being onboarded and our team is relatively new. Well, what should you should be focusing on trust, right? Like, and especially in our social services world, right? Because there's a lot of relationship that goes on within the team and how we serve the community, right? And all that stuff translates in terms of how you're impactful. So because of my skill set, right? Like I develop activities, I create curriculum, like I do these things to do these micro learnings when I have their attention in like our team meetings, right? Or in
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
during my one-to-ones with people, right? Like I take the opportunity to do those things. So, and I try to empower my teams to do that with their teams and their teams do that with their teams, right? Because that's how you continue to foster sort of this culture of consistent learning, right? And growth and all these things, but also role modeling the way, right? I know this is something we're going to talk about in the future is sort of, being forward facing and charging and leading the way with that. But that's a big part of it too, right? Is sort of role modeling the way and taking risks around being that person. So,
and we found from our research that this is actually validated through the research that we found, because McKinsey did a study in 2020 and they said companies investing in workforce upskilling saw higher productivity and adaptability. So they actually, everything that we just talked about right now, it was proved out, right, by their studies. Like companies that offer these types of services and help their leaders do that. And so if you're sitting in a seat right now and you're like, man, I work for a company that absolutely does not do that, think about if that's a place that you want to live and work for the next 10 to 15 years. Or should you be not only looking at the place that's going to pay you the most money? Because I know that when you're looking at jobs, you're like, okay, well, this place is going to pay me X amount of money to do my job. But should I be looking for a place that's going to also maybe take a little bit less money, but I'm going to work for a place that's going to upskill me, right? And they're going to invest in me and they're going to have leaders that believe in me, because over that time period, that 5 years that people need to be changing their skills and growing, you're going to become a more valuable employee, profitable employee. Therefore, you get paid more money, right? And so,
or the perspective to have, right? Because every organization can't afford those types of resources, right? So the other perspective may be, what do I need to do to up level myself and pour into myself because this company can't? But guess what? If I do that, like I'm going to continue to be a superstar with this organization, which then might be really helpful, right? So
yeah, yeah. And, I think that's the first step. If you're sitting here going, man, I am struggling, I'm in my own head, or I'm not where I want to be, like develop these skills is kind of the first step. The second piece that we were looking at from research was hard work alone is not enough, but it is essential. Man, for you young folks, let me repeat this. Hard work alone is not enough, but don't just take that first part and cut this clip and be like, see, hard work, it is not the reason you're successful. No, it is essential to how you are successful. Right. And so I'm sitting here and I'm going back and forth with my daughter. My daughter plays high level soccer, right? And one of the things that we talk about all the time, her coach talks about with her too, is you can't be unhappy with the results if you didn't put in the right amount of effort. And his point is like, and I don't know if I butchered it to you, Coach Henry, my bad if I did, right? But I think the point of his comment is if you are not willing to work harder in practice than the game results or your recruiting results or everything that you have in life, it's not going to come. It is essential When you hear that statement that was made, right? How does it make you feel, or what are the thoughts that go?
Well, I think like in social services, right? It's interesting because hard work most times equates to what effort and energy are you putting into the relationships, right? Like what are you pouring into the community, right? So like if it's not something performance related in terms of we need to get these specific measures and these outcomes, you still have to put in effort and energy towards things that are sort of not like more intangible things. Like how do you measure the performance with this relationship, right? Like how authentic can you be? How trusting is the relate? Like how do you put measures on that, right? Like it's kind of difficult to do that, right? So I think that's what comes up for me is when you talk about that, we're looking at performance in different ways or effort and energy in different ways that aren't necessarily readily measurable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And you being successful is not about, it's not luck, right?
Mm-mm.
And so, to your point, hard work is not like I'm out in the field digging a ditch. That might be your version of hard work, but it also is, man, I need to put the brain energy into being successful. I need to do those things more successfully, right? Like, and I need to be more engaged. I need to build better relationships. I need to, and so it goes back to developing the skills. Do I have the skills to do that? Then once I do that, am I willing to put in the absolute effort to do that? Right. And be successful.
And identifying the things that are getting in the way of why you're not being successful, right? What I experience a lot is people really struggle with being able to receive feedback.
Speak on that a little bit, because I think it's super important. I think it's a thing that's missed a bunch.
Yeah, I think people don't. Again, this is where sort of self awareness comes into play, right? And knowing yourself is being able to sort of see when you're being given feedback and what's going on for you, right? Like, how is your body feeling, right? Like, are you paying attention? Are you already thinking of a comeback? Or are you sitting there and you're receiving it and you're grounded and you're listening and you're not even coming up with sort of objections, right? And so like again, man, like I think that's a lot that I see that trips people up is not being able to receive feedback. But also all feedback isn't like feedback you should like consider, right? Like you have to sort of weed through it and understand, well, this is maybe what they're trying to say, or no, that makes sense. Or even if you are given feedback and you don't agree with it, right? I'm practicing the skill of receiving feedback. Although I don't agree with it, like how can I then make this a comfortable situation knowing that it's uncomfortable? Right. When I know someone's giving me feedback, if my thought is you don't really know the full story and I don't think it's worth sort of diving into that. I'm just going to be present. I'm going to make this less comfortable for this person because I understand what it might have taken for them to be in this place to give me feedback. And I'm just going to hang out and try to make it a comfortable experience. Right.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff, man. I want to pick up their next episode. Obviously, we want to keep these episodes digestible. We know people got a lot going on in their lives, but we're gonna kind of pick up from there where we left off, and then go into the next parts from research and really talk through some life experiences that also help with getting through tough times and success in spite of. But man, happy to be back doing this with you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like always, man, missed it for sure. I promise y'all, we're about to have a bunch of content come back out. I know it's been a big gap. If you follow some of our stuff right now, you'll probably see we haven't done a ton over the last probably year or two, but man, we're back at it. We're going to put this content out. I don't know how regularly, but we're going to put it out for you. So if you look at our sites, once again, Realize Now GLC, Growth and Learning Company. So Realize Now GLC at all of your platforms. And then our YouTube is right here. It's probably where you're watching this right now. Subscribe for your boys. You know what I'm saying?
Hit that follow button.
Yeah, hit that follow and
Ring that
subscribe.
bell. Ring that belly up.
Evan Bell. You know what I'm saying? Let your boys help your day out, man. We're up early to do this and bring this content. So if you got another hustle in your life and you're thinking, man, I got my job, I got my hustle, man, put in that extra work. Wake up early, stay late. Make a plan for your life to bring what you got to the world, because I'm telling you right now, it's valuable and we need it right now more than ever. So bring your value out to the world, and we'll catch you soon.
Peace out.